Morning, folks. We've been talking about romantic love. We're fixing to talk about romantic love. We're in the area of the family, chapter 16, and this is going to be 16D. Okay, and we just got done talking about the rating dating hypothesis with Willard Waller. So what we're going to focus on now is the concept of romantic love. So again, I've not gotten my thing ready. There we go. Romantic love. In order to put this in perspective, I want to talk about different kinds of love, and then we'll compare that with romantic love. Philosophers have identified a lot of different classifications of love, and we all pretty much agree that there's this emotion called love. And I'm going to give you a classification scheme that includes romantic love, but gives us a couple other points to compare against it. I want to talk about, in addition to romantic love, I want to talk about, let's do it like this, companionate love and altruistic. Okay, so we'll talk about these three kinds, but the focus is going to be on romantic love because romantic love is seen as a precondition in our culture for getting married, and so we're gonna look at it in depth, and we're going to use Waller's theory. Okay, companionate love. Companionate love is when you care about somebody a lot. There's no emotional highs or lows. You like to do things together. You get along well together. They're a good friend. There's not a big sexual component to it. It's just think of old people love. You like somebody a lot, you care about them, you hold hands in the park. That's companionate love. Altruistic love is when you're willing to love somebody without expecting them to return that love. And the best example of altruistic love probably is parent-child relationships. Parents give and give and give, and the kids just kind of receive, right? And the kids are just waiting to get independent. But it's fulfilling for the parents too. It's a very rewarding experience, but it's not it's not reciprocated, But so we call it altruistic love. Usually altruistic love doesn't work in a husband-wife relationship. Okay, this brings us to romantic love, and that's what we're going to talk about. Romantic love. Waller, let's talk about this one. There we go. Waller had a theory of romantic love, and I'm going to tell you about it. And his basic idea is that in our culture where romantic love is allowed, people are physically attracted to one another. Okay, there's this attraction, and it's biological. Okay, it's a sexual attraction. So people are attracted to one another, and that's the basis of the relationship, of the attraction, of the initial attraction. And then he talks about the fact that this takes place in a cultural context where the culture says that when you find the right person, you'll fall in love and get married, and you ask your mom, but Mom, when will I know? And your mother says, don't worry, you'll know, right? That's the same thing my mama told me, and she's 90 years old, so this has been around a while. So there's this expectation, okay, and everything's looking good. You found this person. There's a cultural expectation that you'll fall in love and get married. But there's one problem. It's this gigantic barrier. And the barrier is you're not supposed to have sex before you get married. Now, I know you're thinking this is an old fogey theory, and it is, and times have changed, and they have. But I would still argue that sex is not something that you kind of brag about to your church elders or to your mama. And folks, you're still kind of sneaking around. Maybe not so much, but some. And there's still the prohibition, okay? Well, what this barrier does, okay, you've got this attraction from, male and female, and you've got this barrier. And according to Waller, what happens is that energy, this sexual energy, is called, from Freud, libidinal energy, L-I-B-I-D-I-N-A-L, libidinal energy. It just means sexual energy. This libidinal energy is blocked by this barrier, okay? And it becomes refracted into what he calls an idealized image. That's not right. Image. I think that's right. Okay, idealized image. And the idealized image is that you take somebody, you're attracted to somebody, and you can't legitimately have them sexually. And so there's this barrier. It's kind of forbidden fruit. And what happens is that this idealized image is created in your mind. The easiest way to explain it is there's this old saying, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And so the fence is this barrier, okay? And so there's this person that you're attracted to, but you have the barrier. And so you create this idealized image, okay? In your mind's eye, they are transformed into this perfect person for you, all right? And so what happens is you have these people creating this idealized image, and they're thinking, hey, you know, I know that there's this one perfect person for me. This must be it. I'm going to get married, okay? And so he's saying that the core of romantic love is actually frustrated sexual energy. Is what he's arguing. And then of course once you get married, then sex is okay, and then that erodes this idealized image, and you wake up one day realizing that you're married to a regular person like you, and the idealized image is gone. Now, if you think that this idealized image doesn't exist out there, let me tell you, there's a lot of people, and people who should know better, who still talk about this. I tell you, when I was dating and older women, I'll tell you, women in their 50s and 60s, I heard this over and over again. I'm looking for a knight. Well, there's no knights out there. There's just us guys, right? Yeah, and to think that there's this idealized, you know, this hero that's going to come in and save them from all of their day-to-day. That doesn't work, you know. That ain't the way it is. We're just a bunch of guys, you know. We're no knights. So that's, you know, but it exists in our culture. Okay, that's a characteristic. Okay, what I want to do now is I want to talk about the process of mate selection, and there are two basic concepts that are involved in mate. Two processes involved in mate selection, and it's heterogamy and homogamy. Okay, heterogamy, H-E-T-E-R-O-G-A-M-Y, and the homogamy. Okay, let me do heterogamy first because it's fairly straightforward. Heterogamy refers to groups that you're not supposed to marry. Okay, in other words, it's groups that are the culture defines as being off limits to you, and of course that is members of your family. Okay, you can't marry within your kin group. And the other is, and then of course this is changing, is people of the same sex. So society says those, you know, you're not supposed to marry those people. Now the one is changing, but the other's not. We still have the prohibition against marrying kin. Okay, homogamy, homo means the same. So we're talking about you marry somebody like yourself. That's the same as you. Homogamy, homogamous relationship. And we find that homogamy, I mean, research bears this out. The more alike you are with somebody, the greater your chances of success, okay? Because the way it works out is the more alike you are, the less you got to fight over. And the less you got to fight over, the happier you'll be, okay? Is basically what it boils down to. So I'm going to talk about homogamy with respect to several things, okay? So I'm going to write down homogamy again. And what are we looking at homogamy with respect to? Well, several factors. Social class. You know what? I'm going to do these in the order I do them in notes, just for consistency. Okay, religion is the first one I get. Okay, good. Okay, religion. Now, folks, we live in a in a society that is becoming more secular by the day. And there's a tendency for people to think that religion is really not that important anymore. But let me tell you, I think religion really is important, okay? And it's not because I go to church, because I really don't. It's just because I think that religious beliefs, if you go to church on a weekly basis, you're getting these beliefs all the time. And even if you don't, you're picking up beliefs. Maybe you went to church for a while, or the beliefs are out there in the community. And they shape how you see the world. And so what research shows on this is that you're more likely to have marital success if you marry somebody who's like you in terms of religion. So Catholics should marry Catholics, okay? Lutherans should marry Lutherans. Unitarians should marry Unitarians, all right? And if you're a Baptist, marry another Baptist. But if you're a conservative Baptist, marry a conservative Baptist. The more alike you are, the better off you are. Because, folks, the value, a pope made this observation. He said, give me a child to the age of 6 and I'll give you a Catholic for life. And the point is you get these values when you're young and they become a part of you. And it's really hard to separate yourself from your values. Remember the Warfian hypothesis? That's what colors your perception of the world. And and you can't see it. You can't see that you're looking through rose-colored lenses. You just think that's the way it is. And so that's the way you see it. And it really shapes how you see the world. So it's important that you have that in common, okay, with your spouse. Now, if you can't marry somebody exactly like you, get close, okay? You know, if you are a devout Muslim, don't marry an atheist, okay? Or if you're a devout Southern Baptist, don't marry a Unitarian. Marry somebody that's pretty close to you in terms of beliefs. And that way you've got, and I'll tell you when religion really becomes important. It's when you have kids, okay? I mean, you can say, oh, yeah, well, I'll go to church, but I don't care. I'll go to her church, but I won't even listen. But when kids come along, now you've got issues about baptism and joining the church. And if you believe that your church is right and theirs is wrong, and she wants you to go to their church, boy, that's a problem. That is a real problem. The rubber meets the road when you start talking about kids. So the more like you are, the better off you are. So religion is still important. If you're an atheist, marry an atheist, okay? Marry somebody like you. Atheism, by the way, is a religious belief. You just believe there is no God. But that's a belief about the supernatural. There is no God. So that's a critical variable, okay? The next one, social class. Social class pervades everything about us, okay? Your basic values, your outlook on life, what you're used to in terms of material comfort, it's all a reflection of your social class. And you want to get somebody who's kind of like you, okay? If you find somebody, I mean, it's just, if I tell you, there's so much, social class influences so much, okay? I mean, from the way you decorate your house to the kind of clothes you wear, I mean, it influences so much. And if you're singing from different pages of the hymnal, it's a problem. You need to find somebody that's your social class. I mean, you just, it makes it, again, you have more in common when you do that. All right. Related to social class is education. Oops. Education. Folks, education is a transformative experience. You may not think that. You may be coming to East Central and thinking, I don't know what I'm learning here. I'll tell you. I say this in the notes. You go home and you talk to one of your buddies that you liked a lot in high school who didn't go to college, and in 5 minutes you'll see you're different. You're different. We change you, okay? Change your values, your perspective. You are a changed person because of education. So it only makes sense that when you marry, if you're college educated, you probably ought to marry somebody who's had some college, okay? If a college educated person marries a high school dropout, can they make it? Of course they can, but it's harder, Okay, I mean, you just have more in common. Let's see. The next thing I want to talk about is race and ethnicity. Now, folks, this is a sensitive topic, but I'm just going to go by the numbers, and I'm just going to tell you what the numbers show. Interracial marriages, okay, not so much interethnic anymore. Race is biological, ethnicity is cultural. And when I was your age, they used to talk a lot about interethnic marriage, and you shouldn't do it. Like Irish shouldn't marry, shouldn't marry Germans, or Italians shouldn't marry, Swedes. But that, through assimilation, those differences have kind of blurred and diminished. Now the focus is kind of on race. Okay. Now, I grew up during a period of segregation. Okay, and I'll tell you, interracial dating could get you killed in the old days. I mean, literally, people got hung for dating somebody outside their sex, and things have improved. I mean, it's not like that anymore. It's still bad. Okay, and I still think we're a racist nation. But I'm going to tell you the problem with interracial marriage, okay, and what we see is that the divorce rates are higher, first of all. Divorce rates are higher. And the problem is that it's not accepted by either family because both families realize that it's a tougher road to hoe. And so people don't support it. Your family system doesn't support it. So it's one less, security, support that you have there. And so interracial, if you are in love with somebody of a different race, I say go for it, okay? But realize you're going to have more problems. When your kids are born, they're going to face problems, okay? It's going to be a more difficult situation. Now, I look forward to the day when the question of race doesn't even come up, okay? And we are becoming a browner nation, there's no doubt. And we're going to continue in that direction. And I think that's all for the good. And when we reach that point that the question doesn't even come up, then I'm going to say, hey, that's pretty good, but I may be dead by then. But for right now, I'm just telling you, if you make that choice, it's going to be a little harder on you. Another point, let's see here. The next thing I want to talk about is age. Age. Let's talk about that a little bit. Homogamy with respect to age. You hear every once in a while about some old guy marrying some hot young chick, right? Some 50-year-old guy marrying some 20-something young girl, okay? What's wrong with that? Well, the answer is nothing, except for the fact that he is in a different stage of his life cycle than she is, okay? And that's not good. That's not good, folks, okay? When you're in your 20s, you're thinking about establishing a career, finding a mate, having kids, okay? When you're my age, you're thinking about retirement and death, all right? It's just two different orientations. And you can make a go of it. There's no question about it. But it's a problem. It's hard because you're in these different, you have these different orientations. So we hear about it a lot of times. It's when the guy is wealthier, and if the woman is willing to do that for the money, that's her choice. But just in terms of marital longevity, it usually doesn't work out. I mean, the old guy can die, right? But I mean, usually you have problems, and it relates to that. She wants kids. He's already had his kids. She wants to go out and party, and he's tuckered out and wants to stay home. I mean, it's just different, okay? And my advice is to marry somebody your own age, okay? Now, I will tell you this. Some of you girls, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have a couple of kids, and you're gonna be divorced. And times are tough, okay? You're not gonna have enough money. Some guy's gonna come along. He's gonna be 50 years old, and he's gonna have some money. And you're going to be sorely tempted because he's got the cash, okay? And I will say this, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. But if you can at all avoid it, I would. I think you'd be better off somebody your own age. Okay. There there are some related things to homogamy. Homogamy is where likes marry likes. And this isn't really, what I'm about to describe is really not homogamous, but it's kind of related to it. I want to talk about it now, okay? And that is similar interests. Similar interests. You hear a lot about this. I remember in college, there was this girl I kind of liked, never asked out, but kind of known her all 4 years of college, you know. And when I was a senior, I was at this bar, and she was a barmaid out there. And I was talking to her, liked her. And she said, hey, do you know Eddie and I are going to get married? And I said, really? That's great. I'm glad you're going to get married because I liked Eddie and I liked her. And she said, and I said, well, why, you know, you've known Eddie for 4 years. Why did you decide to get married now? And she said, well, we just decided that we have so much in common that we ought to get married. And I said, oh, yeah, well, if you don't mind me asking, what's that? She said, oh, we both like to go bar hopping. I thought to myself, well, okay. I mean, that is a similar interest, but you know, you're going to build a relationship on that. You're going to acquire property and have kids because you like to go bar hopping. I mean, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And you'll hear people say this. Oh, we both like to snow ski. Well, how often do you snow ski? You know, how much time do you spend snow skiing? You go to Colorado once a year for a week. What are you going to do the other 51 weeks, right? So similar interests really don't count for much, okay, except for two things. There are two areas where similar interests are critical, okay? And here they are. In the area of kids, okay? Similar interests with respect to either wanting to have kids or not wanting to have kids. I will tell you, folks, that having children can be the most rewarding, fulfilling experience in your life. For me, my son, my granddaughter, most rewarding part of my life. Nothing else comes close, okay? And if I were married to somebody who said, no, I don't want to have kids, my life would be unfulfilled, okay? Totally unfulfilled. And so this is a critical thing. I mean, this is a big, big deal. And so, and there are people out there who don't want kids, and there are people out there who want kids. So if I were you, I'd match up with the one who agrees with you, okay? And the reason kids are so important is that they're so all-consuming. I mean, all-consuming. I mean, the whole orientation of your life will change when you have children in terms of, you know, what you want, what you prepare for, how you invest your money, everything. It influences everything. They take a lot of time, a lot of money, and it can be so rewarding. I mean, so rewarding and fulfilling. Okay, if you want kids, if you don't want kids, don't have them. Do the kid a favor and don't have him. Okay, because it'll be a burden for you, and you won't like it. And it's not good. So I'll tell you, folks. For me, this is a deal breaker right up front, and I would find out right away. You start dating somebody, you know, I'd find out right away how they feel. I mean, not the first date maybe, but the third. I find out, well, you like kids, you know, you want to have kids? What do you think about kids? You know, if you don't want to ask them, get them around kids, see how they react. You know, you can tell if kids are off-putting to them or if they like kids. And I'd use that as a basis of a decision. I'd dump somebody if they're not interested in having kids. It's just that important. And it's not that it's just that important to me. It's just such an all-consuming kind of endeavor that you've got to be in agreement on that. And not only are you going to have them, but how are you going to raise them? Okay? I mean, if somebody's a strict disciplinarian and they're beating this kid that you love more than life itself, you ain't going to like it. Okay? So I would talk about these things. They're important, you know. And you know, you don't want to scare somebody off for first date, but you need to start finding out this stuff right away. Okay, another thing that you need similar interest on is having a home. Okay, now everybody's got to have a place to live, but I'm talking about having a home with a garden and kids and all that. And you know, a lot of people really, really want that. And a lot of people want to live in an apartment and travel, you know. So you've got to match up with somebody like yourself, okay? And again, it's the same kind of reasoning. Having a home, doing a garden, all this kind of stuff takes a lot of time, a lot of money. And if you don't want to do it, you'll be resentful. It will be a schism in your relationship with your spouse. So that's what we want similar interests on, kids and home. Okay. All right, a couple other things here. Let's see. How long have I been talking? I've been yakking it up here. Let me do two other theories. And well, you know what? I think we've been going a while, haven't we? Let's pause here. Okay, so this is 16D, and I don't know. We may have two more sections of chapter 16. This sucker's long. Okay, I'm going to pause it. I'll get back with you in just a sec.